All right, let me start by a few words of introduction. What you're going to see in this demo, which is about MCP security, so agentic workflow security, is I think a general construct that we're going to find again and again across all the control points. And it's really this dual idea of, we're going to have more traditional static guardrail, right? Very much like we have today in cyber. But then we're going to have also a more intelligent secondary layer that will do the detection response. That layer will leverage AI protecting AI. I think that's a general idea here. And they will work hand in hand, right? They'll complement each other. So we're going to see it here for the MCP gateway, but I would suspect we're going to see it in other domains of cybersecurity, right? And in fact, if you think about it, it's not that different than what we're seeing in EDR today or endpoint security. You have static antivirus rule, heuristics, right? Signatures, and then you have dynamic EDR, which is more ML based, and tomorrow it's going to be AI based for the detection. Okay. All right, let's go. With no further ado, let's move forward with the demo. All right, let me start by describing the setup I have. I'm going to use Claude as the agent. So Claude is in agentic mode, and you can see in the settings, the connectors have a couple MCP services set up. One is for atlassian, and it's protected by Pablo, so I'm forcing the traffic, the MCP traffic through the gateway. And then the other one is for Notion. And if I go to these two SaaS applications, this is Atlassian Confluence. You can see he has some HR policy. Same thing with Notion. It's a repo for files, and there's a bunch of, HR policy, parental leave, retirement, all these good things. Okay, so let's go now on the protection side. I'm in the Pablo admin console. And I want to show you the policies, right? The safeguard policies. And this idea of static policies that are applied across all the agents and all the MCP services, things like do not delete, right? We're going to stop all delete attempt via MCP. We can do access control, right? Basic restriction. The one that I really want to show you is this disallow MCP write action. So we're basically blocking update, and I will show you that in the demo, right? So it's just a static guardrail, pretty straightforward. I'm going back to Claude and asking, hey, can you retrieve the parental leave policy from Confluence? So it's a search, it's a read, should be a load, and sure enough, here's the policy, right? It's been retrieved. Pretty cool. Now let's do something more gutsy. We're going to update the policy, or at least attempt. Update it to 1 year vacation if you're French, because we French love our vacation. So here you go, MCP call, I'm authorizing the MCP write. But of course the gateway is looking at that, and it has a global setting, a global guardrail to disallow write, so it should block and show it as. Right, I encountered an error trying to update the page. This could be a permissioning issue, and it is. So here you go, right? The gateway did the work, but let's make sure that it did actually. It was actually the gateway in action. So if I go now to the back to Pablo, and I go to the violation pane, and you can see, right, we have an alert, right, with basically an event, a violation, and you can see that is exactly right. It's the block due the safe agent rule. We disable the MCP write through for Atlassian Confluence. Okay, and that's simple. Okay, so now let's talk about dynamic policies and the Guardian agent, right? That's the coolest part of the demo. So to show the Guardian agent, I'm first gonna enable write, MCP write, for the Notion MCP service. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding Notion MCP to the exception list for the global guardrail, for the static guardrail. Okay. Does it mean that we're left without protection? Of course not, right? So if I go to the HR chatbot policing, you can see that there is a tab about the Guardian agent. And so the Guardian agent, right, is your monitoring. Kind of think of it as the detection response, right, on top of the guardrail, the protection. Okay, so it's turned on. There's no alert. Now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to retrieve the parental leave policy from Notion via the MCP service through Cloud, and it's working beautifully. Here's the paternity leave. You can see it's 16 weeks paid. So I'm going to change that paternity leave policy from 16 to 20 weeks. So I'm doing an MCP write through Cloud, through MCP to Notion, to the file in Notion, and now it works, right? Because I disabled the guardrail for MCP Notion. Okay, now I'm going to add outrageous clause for French dad. They get a 52 weeks paid leave, and they get a 50K bonus. And since we're at it, let's throw in a business class ticket to France. And being older now, we got to take care of the grandpa as well. And so we'll give grandpa 10K to help with the parental leave. That's obviously outrageous. And you can see it's a bunch of right now that Claude is doing. And it seems to be working. And so we've really created that superb parental leave for French people. The agent did what we wanted it to do. Now, let's see if the Guardian agent was able to catch that. So if I go to the console again and I look under the Guardian agent section, you can see now that we have a bunch of alerts, and each alert corresponds to the MCP right. As you can see, here is the 50K bonus for the French employee, but all the other clauses in the attempted updates are here. So we got our monitoring agent, or Guardian agent, the AI, watching the AI is working beautifully.